Hey everyone, it's Alex, and welcome to the Marvel Snap Decks of the Week, the weekly series where I showcase the top 10 best decks in Marvel Snap. And if you'd like to support the content, be sure to hit the like button, be sure to subscribe as well to support the channel. But also, I got a bit of an announcement in the event that you are going to PAX East in Boston. Just so you know, I will be there on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so keep an eye out. If you happen to see me wandering the exhibition center or playing Magic the Gathering or something, be sure to stop by, say hi. I would love to see you. That's why I'm going, it's why I'm there. So definitely want to just give you guys a little bit of a heads up. If you are going to PAX East Boston Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you'll find me somewhere wandering around in different exhibits and different kind of events and stuff like that. So anyhow, it's going to be a fun time, just like this week in Marvel Snap's going to be fun with these top 10 decks. Now, what I will say is we have 7 statistical decks since the kind of like the update that we received, the OTA, but because we were kind of limited on statistics post Infinite, I decided to also feature 3 decks which are not currently they're not currently being played a whole lot since the OTA, but they are statistically doing very good on a 30-day moving average. And so the first 3 decks are those, and then we're going to get into the ranked ordering. So the first is going to be the Havoc deck. I think this deck is fantastic. It has a 57% win rate over the last 30 days with a 0.36 cube rate. It's been unimpacted by the changes going on in the OTAs. This is a deck that I played a lot during Twitch drops. Honestly, I just really like it. It has huge highs, really solid floors. Athena goes really hard here. Although Shadow King is kind of getting more popular thanks to Strange Supreme being as good as it is, this deck does perform very well, and Juggernaut is a chef's kiss style play. For those that are kind of unfamiliar with the play pattern here, generally speaking, you want to play Havoc on turn 4. That means that essentially as you go into the later turns, you always have 4 energy. And you'll note that Kitty Pryde plus maximum of a 3-drop is 4 energy. So you'll be able to basically play Kitty Pryde plus 1 every single turn. Havoc's getting additional power. You're also proccing your Athena, and you have that Kitty Pryde kind of going up and down as Kitty Pryde likes to do. With that being said, let's move on to the next deck, which is going to be another 30-day deck, and this is going to be a Scream variation that I thought was really fun. Now, naturally, it's worth knowing that Sam Wilson, Captain America, was impacted here, as was Scream. There are 2 nerfed cards in this 30-day deck, but over that 30-day period, including the last several days, it runs a 59% win rate, 0.40 cube rate. And obviously, I do think the numbers are going to come down slightly, but this is a unique enough deck that I want to showcase it because it does have the Lady Deathstrike. It has Uncle Ben in there, which you don't always see. Moreover, you do have the value generators with Kraven and stuff like that that Captain America Sam Wilson can still make use of with the shield. It's just an interesting deck. It's also worth noting that the shields will also proc Miles Morales. It has Shang-Chi in there. It has a lot of good, notable tech here, which I think could be particularly valuable, especially considering that there are a lot of Strange Supremes that are getting into Shang-Chi range, and these decks generally don't run tech pieces like Shang-Chi. They usually go all in on that Scream move synergy. Instead, here you got a lot of really interesting tech, including Lady Deathstrike, which I actually really enjoy playing. So I want to showcase this one to you. It's another 30-day deck, but a very interesting take on Scream. And then we're going to go to Standard Evo. I was so happy to see this on the list, running a 59% win rate with a 0.34 cube rate, which is just fantastic. You have Bruce Banner. This is the variation with the Abomination. You have Scorpion, Magic, Rogue being played right now because of the prevalence of ongoing cards, especially with that 3-drop Agent Carter. I just love the idea that a straight up traditional Evo deck is actually low-key doing pretty good. Now, this deck had a relatively low sample size. I think it was like 260 games. So it was low, but I was like, man, you know what? I want to show it. I really want to show it because it's statistically doing pretty damn good. And, I mean, we either bring the stats up together by playing this deck or we tank them completely and the deck's, Evo kind of sucks. But, I mean, we're going to be talking about an Evo deck later on, like much later on. Like one of the best decks in the game right now is an Evo-based shell, but Evo is kind of like, it's there for basically 1 card. So we'll talk about that when we get there. But anyways, those are the 30-day decks. Let's get into the statistical, untapped, infinite decks for this week. I was super excited to see a variant of discard that is not actually the Bullseye shell. Now, Bullseye's still doing good. It's running a similar percentage win rate right now, but the cube rate actually has dipped a little bit. And so Khonshu is actually taking it over right now with a 55% win rate and a 0.38 cube rate, which again is on the strong side. Anything above 3.0 or, well, 0.30 is generally pretty good. 55% win rate for the top 10 is kind of on the low side, but you do have the Coccia, Apocalypse, Corvus Glaive package here, MODOK, which obviously recently got nerfed. There's just a lot of good cards here, and it's a nice differentiator compared to like what discard's been over the last little while. You've been seeing a ton of Bullseye, and it's still a good deck, but it's also nice to see a Coccia deck doing what it's doing. I also find it very fascinating that Coccia-based decks are not leaning into the Gores and the Iron Men and stuff like that, especially with the buff that happened to the first Ghost Rider. You know, you're not seeing Silver Samurai. You're not seeing those decks that are hyper-focused on that Coccia synergy. You're seeing dependable discard with Coccia as a bonus play. And this is what statistically is performing. I almost want to go back to the drawing board, because I still feel, man, that like the Gore-based shell, bringing back the Coccia. I feel like bringing back Gore with Coccia is great. Like, look how many on reveals you have here, right? There's quite a few on reveals, and obviously your opponent will have some as well. Even Iron Man. Like, there's got to be a shell out there that's using Coccia to greater effectiveness. But here we are. 0.38 cube rate with pretty much dependable discard. You can't argue that. Going into number 6, we do have Captain Ongoing. Now, I know a lot of people are really interested in Agent Carter, and I should say Captain Carter, sorry. Now, this one here is a 56% win rate deck at a 0.27 cube rate. Now, it's a little lower on the cube rate side than I would like. The win rate is okay. It's not fantastic. There are better decks here, but I think a lot of people were really interested in, well, how would Captain Carter Moonstone Ongoing perform in this meta? Early statistics are showing it's not as hot as we might have thought, but I will tell you, Captain Carter Moonstone is definitely a lane winner. It definitely feels strong, and maybe we are just a little more kind of iterations of this deck, so a little more cooking away from like really getting it off the ground and going hard, right? So it actually surprised me to see that the move to a 3-costed card did not drastically increase the win rate of the ongoing shells. It's still early. It's only been a couple days since the update, and it's a very significant update, especially since like going in, well, we're in the weekend, but being in the weekend, we have a lot of people doing the weekend missions. And so Captain Carter's seeing a lot more experimentation right now, but it's not the last deck we'll be talking about Captain Carter, because we've got a server deck coming up soon as well. So if you want to see the ongoing shell running a 56% win rate, 0.27, it's fine. It's not doing as good as you might have expected. And then we go into the bounce and move. Now, this was prior one of the absolute best decks in Marvel Snap. It saw a little bit of a nerf, but overall, the deck is still super good. It's played at very high ELOs, very high MMRs. You essentially have a 56% win rate, 0.31 cube rate. Basically, it revolves around using Frigga to copy that massive Human Torch that you've been generating there. Obviously, Sage, a fantastic finisher as well. There's just a ton of opportunity to get Human Torch into massive, gargantuan, crazy levels. And what I like about this deck is the newly buffed Toxin makes this shell. And Toxin, honestly, is such an intuitive bounce card to play. Obviously, Beast is too, but Toxin and Beast together, they're like the two most straightforward of the bounce cards to play. And so as a result, you have a very clean playing move bounce deck that honestly puts tremendous power on the board. Like, sometimes it's borderline crazy unfair power to the point where you're like, oh, you just copied a massive, like, when I say massive, like over 50 power Human Torch, I guess I'm retreating. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't kind of stay in for these fights. But anyways, the deck's doing really, really well. And so I want to showcase it once again, because it's one that it's always been really good, especially at high elo, but people just don't really play it all that often. It's just not one that people like the playstyle of, I suppose. The moment you've been waiting for. Currently, the top Surfer-based Captain Carter shell, 57% win rate, 0.40 cube rate, and it runs a couple key tech pieces here. Now, obviously, it has Makari, which it's really fascinating to see Makari doing as good as it is, and I almost want to sneak Fastos into this deck, to be honest with you. It's also very notable that Sebastian Shaw does not make this deck. Instead, you have something like a Juggernaut. You have the tech of Red Guardian, so you have less ceiling and more tech, because you're thinking, Alex, we got Gorgon here? Well, yeah, because Thanos is becoming extremely popular thanks to the Strange Supreme. Hence why Shadow King is in this deck. It eats Strange Supreme. Cassandra Nova does a great job against Thanos. So this deck is very much a meta call right now, and as a result, you don't have the Galacta and you don't have the Gwenpool, you just have Galacta as a single 4-drop here. You're relying on some of your tech pieces to really do high damage to your opponent, especially that Gorgon on turn 2 can be soul crushing. Moreover, you do have Forge. You can go Forge into Brood. You can go Forge into Captain Carter, and then Brood on top of that. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of mobility here, which I do appreciate. I do find it awkward that you have a Killmonger without a Nova. Like that to me feels wrong as a Surfer gamer, right? But anyway, statistically, I wanted to show you what Untapped is showing as one of the absolute top performing shells. I don't think we're done yet with Surfer. Like, I don't think this is, I look at this deck and I'm like, even myself, I'm like, all right, I want to make some changes to it, right? But right now, statistically, it is doing well. So if you want to kind of an interesting starting point, this is where you can go. And again, I do think that the Shadow King and the Gorgon are particularly strong tech pieces at that 2 slot, except obviously Shadow King you're not playing on 2, but Gorgon's a fantastic on-curve play that I think really benefits this deck right now. So I would like to keep that there and like to see what it can do, especially considering what the meta call is. That's going to take us into our top 3. Starting with our top 3, we have Sauron at a 58% win rate at 0.30 cube rate. Part of the cube rate comes from the Enchantress, which absolutely loves to feast on the ongoing kind of gaming happening right now, especially with the weekend mission with Captain Carter, and of course even being played in some other decks with some experimentation. This is a good shell, man. It's like, it's really funny to see that Sauron, you know, you had Starbrand added to the deck and it was like, are we gonna make it? Are we gonna make Sauron back? Is it back? And then it just kind of wasn't. And then you move it to a 2-drop and all of a sudden, bam, like we're back. We're legit. Like this is a legit archetype. However, I will tell you that statistically, I mean, it's doing great, but it's not seeing as much play as you would expect. And so as a result, I think that people are kind of sleeping on the power of this deck. I will note that I still think that there's going to come a point in time where I would like to see the Shuri Red Skull Taskmaster style of Sauron kind of make a comeback, because this is a very different brand of what that Shuri Zero style deck was, right? It's just unfortunate because that change to the Taskmaster, moving it to a 6, does not allow you to play Ebony Maw alongside it, because traditionally you would have Shuri's Red Skull, you would Taskmaster the Red Skull, and then you would also play Ebony Maw as an additional 1/7 wherever you wanted. We're not quite there yet, but this is kind of the next best thing, right? So the deck's doing really well, top 3, and it's also relatively, oh man, I was going to say relatively inexpensive, but you do have Starbrand and Ares, which are 2 new cards. You do. It is a little more expensive because of the 2 new additions. But we do got those snapbacks coming, so maybe, you know, acquisition will be improved there. That's the hope, of course. Just like we hoped that Strange Supreme was going to be a good card, and by golly, has it been great. This has been one of my favorite releases in a while, not just because of like the power level. It is a really good card. I don't think it's completely meta shattering, but it's about as good as you can get without begging for a nerf. Like, I think it's a really, really strong card, and Thanos is a very natural place for it because those stones are doing like triple duty. Not only are you getting this, like the stone play to get your engine going, you're getting the draw, you're working with Thanos, but then you're getting Strange Supreme to take those stones, relinquish the space, buff himself, even with the power of the stones themselves. So there's a lot to love with Thanos and Strange Supreme. Now, we had tried a Lockjaw base cooked. We were coping a little bit. It doesn't surprise me to see a Thanos base shell without Lockjaw doing well. But what I will say is it's a couple things. Mockingbird tends to be working pretty well, despite the fact that Strange Supreme does reduce the viability of Mockingbird as it eats up some of the things there. The newly buffed Fastos making the shell, Red Guardian as tech. You do have Copycat here, which I do love. Copycat's a great catch-all. In my experience, I haven't loved Iron Patriot while testing this particular shell, and I wonder if, like, even, oh, I should mention that. If you want to counter the meta, what you do is you take Iron Patriot out, you add Gorgon in. So when you have a Thanos mirror match, you have the Gorgon, and you can prioritize playing Gorgon against the other Thanos to mess up their lines and basically get a free win. It's borderline a snap condition for the most part, right? So if you don't have Iron Patriot, put in Gorgon instead, and you have something better for the mirror match, especially considering Strange Supreme is part of the weekend missions and is kind of popular right now as well. You also do have the Wiccan play here, which I do appreciate. But anyways, love Strange Supreme and Thanos. I think it is absolutely fantastic. Great card. Love it. And that's going to take us to the number one deck of the week. And a reminder, guys, if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing to support the content. And of course, stay up to date. I would just appreciate if you'd consider it if you're not, right? And I mean, there's a chance that you don't even realize you're not subscribed. This actually surprises people all the time. Just check to see if you are subscribed. And if you aren't, then consider hitting the button. If you don't, I still love you. It's fine. You're still out to watch. As number one is Toxic Evo. A 64% win rate, 0.72 Q rate. Guys, this deck is actually performing insane, but no one's really talking about it. It has Sam Wilson, Captain America in it. It did get nerfed, but these statistics are over the last several days, including the OTA. The Sam Wilson helps to activate Miles Morales. She also has the Rocket and Groot, which was recently kind of impacted. You have High Evo simply for the Abomination. It's crazy. And the one card missing from here, which I really want this card in there, is Diamondback. It actually surprises me that Diamondback doesn't make this shell. So if you have Diamondback, you don't have Man-Thing or something like that, like you could consider making those changes. But this is a great shell, man. It is doing so good right now in the meta. So if you're looking to play an absolutely fantastic deck, which also does pretty good into the Thanos-based stuff, because you're getting these wide board states. You're getting these really wide board states, and you're able to do a ton of damage. That's why Man-Thing is so good, actually, because you have so many rocks and stones and Ultron drones and stuff, and Man-Thing just loves it. Just absolutely loves it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll see you on that next one.